Welcome to Embracing Life Again. I'm Katherine Coffer, transition expert and minister. Together, we'll break through life's toughest barriers, rediscover joy, and start dreaming again. It's time to embrace life fully with purpose, passion, and hope. Hi, I'm Katherine Coffer, your host of Embracing Life Again. My show is to inspire you and to get you unstuck and from your trauma or your loss to live life again with joy and be able to dream. So today I'm really excited. We have Kate Mollison, who is a grief specialist. She is awesome in her field. I'm really excited to talk to her. But first, I wanted to update you. So we have Adventures with Zebby. And before I went to San Diego to do an interview, I was walking him on a path in a park, and a dog that was, a dog that was off leash, who I've come across this with Theo, with dogs off leash, coming up to him and wanting to play rough with him and attack him. I've never had this with Zebby. And Thursday, I was walking him and I saw this dog off leash. The owner was older, but clearly did not have control of the dog. And I'm like, sir, you need to leash your dog. And the dog kept coming at Zebby and me. And so Zebby was attacked. I was attacked. And Zebby bolted. And what bolted means is he took everything, took the rope out of my hands and just ran. They're flight animals, so they will do that, especially if they feel they're in danger. And he was in danger. It was like a husky lab mix, which I wouldn't think, but I saw something in his eyes that I just like, oh crap, we're in trouble. So I'm all, well, you probably can't see, but I'm all bruised on my hand. And then he was bit in the leg, and it's a leg that he has had issues with here and there. So be praying for him. I will probably, I don't know if it's going to be on this show or my next one, I will be taking him back to the park and showing you how to get him untraumatized. But the little guy has always been my therapy, and it allowed me to be his therapy this time. So in that way, it was wonderful, the relationship we have. But now I have to calm down when I walk him in the park again, and I don't want him afraid of dogs. He can't be, because he works with dogs. You know, I go to rest homes and stuff with dogs with him, and he can't be skittish around them. So be praying for him. But I wanted to bring on Kate. So stay tuned. Hold on. Hey, Kate, so glad to have you on today.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
You are so welcome. Well, I want to tell the audience a little bit about you. So this is Kate Mollison. She is a certified grief coach and the founder of CEO of Tuesdays We Wear Black LLC. And I love that. It's a consulting company where she focuses on helping educate businesses on the connection between grief and bereavement. Using her own experience as a widow, Kate adds a personal touch to an otherwise very uncomfortable topic. So welcome, Kate. And we are going to be talking about grief and the holidays and how to get through that.
Yeah.
So Kate, just tell us a little bit more about who you are and who you help. And
Yeah. So as you said, I am primarily the thing that qualifies me to do this work is I'm a widow. I lost my husband unexpectedly 4 years ago. And I hate to say that lost. It wasn't like, whoops, where'd he go? But Craig passed away due to unfortunate medical malpractice. And I had two small kids at the time, and it was like being waterboarded with gasoline. So I took everything I learned in those first couple of years and found a niche for people who needed help and started to create community and education, and then really found the crux of the problem was people not having enough time to bereave, to complete the paperwork. And that was the noise that got in the way of so much of the grief experience. So I wanted to create awareness for businesses about how they can better support their employees. And I went, and I got certified in the grief coaching, and I have a degree in business management, and took those two lives and merged them together. And thus on Tuesdays, We Were Black was born. So my job is to go to work every day and talk about the love of my life, to share his legacy and tell his stories and his jokes, and just help people get back in touch with the human part of the dying experience, because we can really change how we support people in grief by humanizing it. And that makes us uncomfortable because it makes us question our own mortality. But once we get past that discomfort, there's such a beautiful space of connectedness and well-being and honor and love and support. And so we got to burst through that membrane a little bit to get to the good stuff.
So true. We're not taught how to grieve. We're not taught how to grieve well. And so after my husband was killed, actually, I had to learn. And then God's like, you're going to teach others to grieve well. And I'm like, okay.
That's right. And we're not taught how to support people in grief. Like it comes from our upbringings and our community and our cultures, right? Like it's just something we don't talk about because we don't want to put it out there, bad juju, or it scares us, or we're just uncomfortable with it. So we just don't talk about it and we avoid it. But it's unavoidable. Death is inevitable. And so if we start talking about it and start preparing for it, then we really do create space to just enjoy life. And that's the whole essence of our why we're here, right? Like it's to enjoy life.
Yes. We all have an expiration date, right? We can't undo that.
That's right.
So, okay, so you're going to give us a few tips of how to best grieve or connect with people over the holidays.
Yeah. So one of the things I really like to talk to people about, especially this time of year, is the traditions, right? We're coming into Thanksgiving season. Christmas is right around the corner. There's Hanukkah, there's New Year's, there's Valentine's Day. We're in this really sweet spot where we're jam-packed with holidays and things to do. And then you have grief. And how do you navigate all of these various expectations, right? There's the social parties and the drinking and the cookie swap so you have all of this information coming at you and all of these expectations coming at you, and you're feeling this huge void, this huge loss. And it doesn't matter if the loss is recent or it's been some time, it can still be impacting you if you haven't really processed it. And so what do? Do you continue these old traditions that are technically dead too because the person isn't there? Do you just keep going through the motions, and then that feels empty and hollow and almost like you're staying stuck in sadness and in grief?
Right.
But then if you stop doing the traditions, you feel guilt and terrible, like that gut wrenching, oh my God, I'm not doing this anymore. And you have that secondary loss feeling where you just are letting go of another piece of them. That's a lot to grapple with, right? Like you're darned if you do and darned if you don't. How do you choose? And I think that the answer is you don't. You set healthy boundaries for yourself.
Did you do what I did in that you chose some you wanted to keep, but then you created new ones that you had always wanted to see? Did you do something like that? Because that's what I did, and that helped me a lot.
Yeah, we kind of evolved some of the previous traditions. So Craig died the day before his birthday and 2 days before Thanksgiving. So
Mm.
November is always very hard for us. And Christmas was a month after, and we were, peak COVID time. So
Oh,
it was a very challenging year that year. And so there wasn't a lot we could do to really change things. We were kind of forced in this little bubble.
yeah.
And the second year, we changed some things. We normally do a live Christmas tree. The second year, we didn't. And that was just easier. The third year, I did a pre-cut tree. And then last year, I finally did a live tree again. And this year, I'll do a live tree. But it's like some of it was bandwidth. Like I, as a solo parent and like managing all of the estate stuff and wrongful death stuff. And I didn't have the bandwidth to do some of the traditions. And that felt icky. But I did find ways to honor him. And so we still have a birthday cake for him. On
Oh,
Thanksgiving, for dessert, we serve birthday cake.
oh,
That's our new tradition because his birthday is right there. Even though it's a couple days later, it's how we bring him forward in that celebration. But that's what I
right.
encourage people to do, is to find those ways where you can still marry the old with the new. Bring them forward with you.
Wow. So true. So true.
I think one of the other ways that you could really take care of yourself through the holidays is through self-care, right? And we all kind of like shake our heads at that word because it's so oversaturated and so like misunderstood. Self-care is not that extra pumpkin latte or squeezing it around a golf on a sunny day or, getting a manicure. But real grief self-care is about doing reflections, doing affirmations, doing therapy, if that's your calling, whatever the modality you choose. So for me, it's actual talk therapy with a clinician. For some people, it's, equine therapy, or they go hiking, or they go fishing, or whatever your therapy is. Make sure you get your therapy in. For some people, it's religion. Go to church, go to a support group, talk to a pastor, talk to a friend, get that support. You need that. Take care of yourself by getting sleep. Take care of yourself by not excessive drinking during the holiday parties. It's
That
okay
makes it worse.
to say, yeah, but it's okay to go to a party and say, I'm not drinking tonight. No is a complete sentence. Know your boundaries and hold them.
Right.
Don't binge eat the cookies. And if you get to a party and you decide that you just don't have the bandwidth to be there, it's okay to leave. Just excuse yourself, go to the car, text the host, say, I'm so sorry, but I wasn't feeling well. I need to leave. And even if you just need to go sit in your car and scream for 20 minutes, self-care is parenting yourself. So if you were taking care of a child, what would the child need in that moment? Give it to yourself.
Exactly.
And that's hard.
Really good. It's hard to even
really
recognize.
Hard to do.
It's even hard to recognize when. But when you start getting anxious and feeling uncomfortable, that's when you have to check in, I think, with yourself and go, okay, why am I feeling this way? And what do I need to do about that?
Yeah. And even if you can't identify the why, saying the something happened and I'm no longer okay. And then removing yourself or course correcting and not feeling guilt in that course correcting. Grief is all about taking back control. You have to stop letting it drive you, right, to an extent. And we have to drive our own grief a little bit. And that means protecting yourself, removing yourself from situations that don't feel good. Like I said, sleeping, getting enough sleep at night and not using drugs or alcohol to get there, drinking enough water, getting
all too
sunlight.
common. That's all too common.
We are all glorified house plants. We need sunlight and water. Like, take care of yourself. That's how you're going to really get through the holidays with a clear mind and a light heart.
Okay, Kate, I have a question though. With regards to like understanding when it's time to remove yourself or just do self-care, because we get triggered, right? And it's hard to realize you're being triggered until after. And then you're like, oh, wow, I was just really, just really triggered. What's the most common challenge that you're seeing when you're helping people deal with the holidays and seeing family, going to parties,
Yeah, so we
etc.?
have this like overwhelming sense of obligation during the holiday times, right? Like we
That's
all
true.
know it. We are obligated to do the Christmas parties, we're obligated to do the PTO, parties, we're obligated to do the Yankee swap and the crock pots there's a lot of obligation in the holidays. And I remind people that you're not obligated to anything. You are only committed to what you agree to, and you still have an out. And if you are not obligated to anything other than taking care of yourself, then that's okay. You don't have to do a gift exchange. You don't have to go to the party. You can leave the party early. You don't have to have the cocktail. You don't have to not have the cocktail, I guess, right? Like you don't have to go to midnight mass if it's upsetting to you. You don't have to, whatever it is that's holding you that you're like, I really want to, or I don't really want to, then don't. And the limiting belief is that you have to. So just start giving yourself permission to really know that it's okay. Like I said before, no is a complete sentence.
Right. It's not just, if you're just not feeling good one day, you're just having a hard day. Like the other day, I didn't go to Bible study, and I love Bible study, but I'm like, you know what? I'm
Just can't.
just gonna do meat right now. I'm just gonna relax and do what I need to do for myself at the time. So it doesn't have to be holidays, right? That we're talking
Sure.
about. And then I didn't go to something else the next day. I mean, and you have to give yourself grace for that. But do you have any recommendations as to how do you bow out gracefully? Right? And how do you, do you need to explain to them in your thoughts why you're leaving? Or do you just say, you know what? I just need to leave right now. And you don't need to give an explanation. What's your take on that?
I think it's very personal, right? Like it depends on your relationship with your own grief. It depends on your relationship with the host of the event. Like if you're hosting, you can't leave your own party.
That's true.
You can, I
remember
guess.
hosting parties. I don't remember hosting parties the first year.
Some people throw themselves into, work commitments or school plays or whatever to distract themselves. And if you find that you've overcommitted yourself, it's 100% okay to just own it and go over to whoever's in charge and say, I took this on and I am not in a place where I am able to execute this as my fullest capacity. And I would love to help you find the right person to take this over. That's an okay thing to say. When it comes to family obligations, you can pull the host aside. You have a sidebar with them. Say, hey, can you meet me in the coat room? And like, come over and be like, I've been triggered. I need to leave. And I don't want to upset anyone and I don't want to cause a scene. And they're most likely going to be like, totally fine.
Yeah.
If you don't feel like you're in a place where you can explain it, just slip out and then text them from the car and like, so sorry, had to go. Great seeing everyone. Merry Christmas or whatever it is, you owe no one an explanation, and everyone who's in your grief sphere will probably know. And anybody who is actually supportive isn't going to challenge you or question you. And the people who do are probably doing it out of ignorance. Like they're not trying to be mean. They're not trying to guilt you into things. They're not trying to cause a scene, but they don't understand it because they haven't walked it. So give them a little bit of grace too. Right.
I have found that people that have not experienced loss don't understand. And they're like, are you over it yet? It's like,
right?
Really? Are you serious right now? Because I'm teaching people, you don't get over it, you go through it.
Right. And a 500-mile walk into the woods is a 500-mile walk out.
Right. So you just go through it and you learn to deal with it, and it gets a little easier as you go. And then some days it'll be just like it just happened. So you never know, right? You never know. Yeah. And then some people that have lost something after, I lost my husband, they're like, I'm so sorry.
Mm.
I had no idea.
It's a perspective shift, right?
And
Like,
so then they ask me, okay, so now what do I do?
yeah,
And I help them, right? It's just,
that's what we do.
wow.
We help people kind of navigate it
Yeah.
because we have the language. It's like being a foreign exchange student. You are just thrown into this culture, this community, this world, and we're expected to learn it. So how do we help translate for other people? I feel like there needs to be like a Babbel app for grief. Like,
Oh my gosh, that would be awesome.
put that in the to-do
I'm just
list.
wondering how many people would watch it or listen to it if there was a
Right?
battle, right? Right. So, in this, do you think there's any limiting beliefs that people are are going through grief have?
I think they feel like it's going to be forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we know grieving is a lifetime, but like that heaviness of mourning, that initial grief period will lighten, will subside. You will emerge into a new phase of grief. And so letting go of the limit that you will always be in that epicenter. Remember how it was, right? I'm sure with your loss, that first week, month, 3 months, that real raw ground zero time, you
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's going to be it forever. And then
Yeah,
just one
it's
day
when
it's not.
everybody's gone. It's when
Yeah.
everybody's
After that
gone. I
drop
mean,
off happens, that's 6 to 8 weeks after the drop off happens, and you are just incredibly alone all of a sudden, and it hurts everywhere all the time, all at once. And
I remember attacking my chicken. Not a real chicken. It wasn't alive, but I was fixing a chicken. I'm just with my knife.
no goodness,
And then I just fall on the floor and just have this heart
an
wrenching wail.
upheaval. Right. Yeah. But
Yeah.
you needed to like have that eruption of emotion in order to burst through that membrane into that next phase. And it happens different for each person, right? Like it's just a natural part of your process that will happen for you and it's supposed to.
Doesn't happen in order.
It doesn't happen in order. Some people go
No.
through it early, some people go through it late, some people go through it multiple times. You know,
Yep.
I think about my kids and I'm watching my kids re-grief. My daughter was 19 months old when her father died.
No.
And there was a little bit of a grieving process to what she could understand.
Right.
But now she's in kindergarten. And now we're having father daughter dances and like making cards for Christmas. And so there's this awareness. And then we're having to have conversations. And then, well, why don't I have? And I've always been very transparent with her. And she's a very smart kid. So she's always understood the finality of it to a degree.
Right.
But there's a developmental process that really prevents her from closing that book. She will re-grief this at every physical developmental milestone. Every one. She's going to go
Oh,
through
wow.
this over and over again. Because think about it, like her brain's not developed. The
Right.
hormones and chemical changes in her brain. So like now she's 5. When she's 10, she'll grieve this again because she'll be, all of her childhood will be basically over. Then when she hits puberty, she'll grieve this again.
Mm.
She dates her first boyfriend or girlfriend, whoever, no judge. When she decides what career she's going to have, if and when she gets married, when she has children, if she has children, all of these developmental milestones in her life, she now is just going to grieve for the rest of her life
Yeah.
in that cyclical way. Where me, it happened, and then there's a linear timeline. For her, it's every milestone. It's like epicenter all over again.
Yeah. So my kids were in college. So they were older, but they still have moments. One of them's married, one of them's not. And they're like, Dad's never walking me down the aisle. Right? Dad's not going to be here to see his grandbabies. Right?
Yep.
So, I mean, they're 31 and 34 now. So that is now coming up.
And then we take that to the holidays and like, so we still put Craig's Christmas stocking up. We still put it up because the kids want to. We don't hang it on the mantle, but we hang it like on a command hook somewhere else as part of the decor now.
Right.
And so having my kids keep that part of the tradition alive where we were able to alter that It's, it evolved from his stocking to decor, but the kids still get to put his stocking up.
Yeah.
And finding those ways to continue the holidays and allow the grief and allow the sadness to be present, but be open to the joy, because those two emotions can coexist. They can exist in your body simultaneously. And until you experience it, that sounds like the most foreign concept you could say to someone. They are oil and water. But
They
when you
are.
experience it, you'll know it.
So my kids, George had a huge box of ornaments. So we divvied them up. So they decorate their tree at home with their ornaments and his and mine too, and then my other daughter, right? So that was the best way. And the other thing we did was we took all of his T-shirts and we made T-shirt quilts. So whatever T-shirt meant something to them. So I think we all took like 20. I mean, he had a ton of T-shirts. And then my daughter Janelle had a place where they make them. And it was something that made, it was comfort to them. So maybe that would be a good present.
That's a great idea.
For your child or whoever, whoever needs that. Because
I've even seen people take like old flannel shirts and turn them into teddy bears. Yes. Or like one of my friends, her husband was in the service and he passed away unexpectedly. So she took like all of his dress shirts and he had them made into little jumpers for their daughter who was like 6 months old. But they took his dress shirts and had them made into like rompers and jumpers for the little one. Oh, that's like, what a great way to repurpose that stuff and like have that connection. And, there's so many things you can do out there, so much creativity. And I think really the most important step is finding your community, finding your collective. So when you do have the hard time, when you do have to navigate those family parties with the people who may be less than understanding or less than supported, well, why aren't you over it yet? Or you're young, you'll date again. Or, when my cat died, that was my favorite. When you have these family parties and people, love the taste of shoe leather, you have to have somewhere to go back to. And you either have to fortify yourself and be strong-willed within yourself to turn inward, or you have to have a community of people who walk the walk, talk the talk, and can support you in the ways that you need. So I always encourage people around the holiday time, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling depressed, please call the suicide prevention hotline. There is help out there for you. People like myself, like Catherine, there's tons of resources, support groups, virtually and in person, especially around the holidays, for people who've had loss. So you are not alone, and we are in this together.
Yeah, that's the biggest lie, is that we're alone.
Right.
And then people lose hope because they just don't know where to go. So then they go out drinking, get totally plastered to forget, right? So we're hoping no one does that.
Well, we're going to make better choices this year, right? Like 2025 is the year of us, and we're going to make ourselves the best versions of ourselves, because that's what our loved ones would want, is to not ruin their legacy by destroying ourselves. Lift them up by lifting yourself up. Live in their honor, in their image, how they saw you. That is the best way you can pay tribute to someone, is live through their eyes.
Absolutely. And then if you were to talk to them, I don't know if you were able to talk to your husband before he passed.
I was.
Okay. So they want the best for you. They want you to live your life. They want you, because they're in a better place. We're the ones suffering down here. So it's time to get,
healing is a choice, and that's hard to hear, right? Like, we don't want to hear that. But I fall back on advice my father gave me when I was a very young child. And he said, no one is going to come save you. So stand up, fix your crown, and get it done.
Oh, I love that. So he knew you were a princess.
You do not need rescuing. You are a queen. Stand up and fix your crown.
Awesome.
My dad, very smart man. So from very young age, he always told me that I had the strength and the will. Not everyone is fortunate enough to hear that. No. And Craig reaffirmed that in my marriage. Every day he would say to me, you're the strongest person I know. And what I
Oh.
didn't realize is that he told me that because one day I would have to be that strong.
Mm.
He obviously knew something I didn't. So if that's not foreshadowing, I don't know what is.
I know, right? Oh, yeah. Mine told me stuff, and it's like, whoa. But he had like a premonition, right? Where he
Mm,
told me things 2 weeks before he died. And I'm like, wow. And I didn't take heed to it until after. I'm like, oh,
mm,
he somehow knew, but he didn't know, right? It was
right.
kind of one of those
I think
things.
Craig was the same way because he died the day before his birthday. And I always say he did that on purpose. Like his death was, an emergency. It was a tragic, urgent, unexpected thing. But to a degree, I go, the universe had to know that I would not be able to handle his birthday being the same as his death date. So he died the day before just to save me the heartache. Thanks,
That's
Craig.
still, it's 2 heartaches in a row, though. But he dies, and then you have his.
We always said he never wanted a surprise party for his birthday. So, like, he just kind of pulled an Uno reverse card on me on that one.
Yeah, he sure did. He sure did.
We have to laugh about it a little bit, too. That's the other thing we have to recognize is that
Yeah.
you have to have a little humor with how heavy this is, with how traumatic this is. And he was always the jokester. And so it's just another way that I pay tribute to him is finding those little places to joke. I'm like, man, he would love that joke.
Mm-hmm. Right. And there's nothing wrong about thinking of them and saying things like that
That's right.
at all. So can you think of 3 immediate steps that the audience can take to improve in this area? I know we already talked about self-care. We talked about removing yourself. I don't know if that's a step, but
I think the first step would be to take a really good assessment of the landscape. Like, how are you sleeping? Are you eating and what are you eating? Like, are you late night binge snacking and then just not eating during the day? Or are you eating relatively well balanced? Or are you not hungry at all? Or are you, whatever it is, take a good evaluation of your holistic systemic self. That's step number 1. And then the caveat to that is if there's anything that's a gap, you need to address it.
all right.
Take a really good look at how you're sleeping. And sleep is something that escapes all of us in grief because it totally messes with our natural circadian rhythm. So talk to a doctor if you need to, try some melatonin if you need to, just don't default to those maladaptive coping strategies. I can't even speak. And I think the third step is to push yourself outside your comfort zone. You have to be brave for 5 seconds, whether that be striking up a conversation with someone in the grocery line or calling a therapist or going to a support group or going to the work party, whatever it is. Continue to push yourself outside your comfort zone just a little bit because that's where you gain that forward momentum. If you stay inside and you stay reclused and you stay sad and you stay to yourself, that is all you're ever going to be. Push yourself to move forward and you will move forward.
Okay. So, little Missy, how can our audience get in touch with you? What's the best way?
So go right to my website. On Tuesdays, we wear black, abbreviated otwwb.com. And that's where you'll find my free educational blog, my podcast where I talk about the widowhood experience specifically. I have a huge glossary page, which is over 100 key grief terms. And then I have a resource tab that is national and vetted resources for grief and widowhood support. Beyond that, you can find me on LinkedIn or all the social medias, same name, Kate Mollison. On Tuesdays, we wear black. Or you could tune in to the TEDx Hartford on December 1st, where I'll be giving a TEDx talk about the space between grief and bereavement.
Yeah. Very good. And then let me see. What else did I want to ask you? Oh, so you have your TEDx, but then do you have something else coming up that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, so I have a co-authored book event happening. So Middle of December, we'll be launching a book called The Faces of Grief, and it is a collective of 30 authors doing a Chicken Soup for the Soul inspired book where we're sharing our stories of grief and then turning them into uplifting experiences for others. So that is available for pre-order now. If you go to my website, you can send me a message on the contact me page and I'll put you on the pre-order list. And then for anyone local to the New England area, we will be doing a live book signing at the Mark Twain House in January.
Oh, very cool. Oh, I can't wait for that to come out. That will be awesome.
Yeah.
So I'll sign up for that pre-order.
Get your autographed copy.
Well, great. Well, I wanted to thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and I wish you all the best on the holidays coming up for for all of us, actually.
For all of us.
Yeah. So, guys, stay tuned for the adventures with Theo and Zebedee coming up next. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Coming up next, Adventures with Theo and Zebby, right here on Embracing Life Again with Catherine Koffer.
So I am with Zebby right now. He's actually right here just kind of plugging along. He doesn't feel that great, but we need to get him out sooner than later. And this is his buddy Macho. So we're bringing Macho out with him, so if he does come up to a dog, we can see how he reacts, and then he'll probably look to Macho to see, oh, it's okay. But anyway, you'll see us walk down the street, and we're probably going to be going to the vet clinic, which is right down the street, and see if there's any dogs there for him, to see how he reacts.
Zeb's not feeling too well today.
So the reason I am carrying this now is because if a dog does come at me, I will forewarn the owner that I will smack the dog. So it's not to hit Zebby or anything, it's just to keep the dog out of our range. Just if you're wondering why I have the little prop. So this is the trail that Zebby was on when he got attacked, and there are two dogs coming up. So we're gonna see how he does. So Phyllis, why don't you go with me? And there's a horsey too.
They are adorable.
Hello.
Aren't they cute?
Oh, it's just a little one of you.
Now, are they minis or ponies?
Yeah. They're mini.
They are minis.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Can I see how he is? He got attacked by a dog that was off leash over here last Thursday, and I just want to make sure he's okay because he was really timid.
Do you need us to do something?
No, I just wanted to see if he'll come up to you.
Yeah, that's fine. And this one's friendly.
I think this one is too, although he sometimes barks at other dogs.
Hi, sweetheart. A little Frenchie. Are you okay with him?
You probably want to play.
You're doing so good.
I'm sure he'd like to play with the horses.
You can come around.
He likes to play with the cows, but he gets his food.
Oh, you're doing so good, Zeb.
Yes.
Good boy.
Good job, Zebby.
Yeah, he's a therapy horse. He
Yeah,
has
I've been
to
over
go
there
stuff-
to volunteer.
Right, with dogs, right? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I haven't been called yet, but I was out just
Sweet Frenchie.
okay.
We got three puppy interactions. There.
Baby.
You're doing so
Good. You're doing good,
So
Zach.
the dog just jumped out.
A dog was circling us and just hit his hind end, and he's still yucky from it. Yeah.
Zach, you said?
Good job, Zebby.
Oh, Zebby.
Zebby. Doing wonderful.
I know. We're here to bring smiles and hope. That I can't tell you what he'll do because he had to fight off the dog.
Yeah, probably
So when he,
Sweet puppy.
And he's a little nippy, so.
no, Macho is Phyllis's, and he also belongs to the car.
Okay. Naughty but nice.
You're being a good boy.
No reaction whatsoever. That's wonderful, Zebs. You did
Say hi to Rocco again to make sure.
Yeah, say hi, Zach.
Boy, it got nice and warm today.
You did good. And so he was so skittish coming home seeing any dogs that I'm like, oh no. He can't be afraid of dogs because he works with dogs, right? So
He's doing
that's
real
good. You're doing really good, babe.
Good job, Zebby.
Doing so good.
Good job. He's like, yeah, this dog doesn't scare me.
It was a Siberian Husky mix, and he had my eyes, right? But they just didn't look right. You know how you know a dog just doesn't look right that day, and he didn't look right, and he wasn't right. Oh, hi, honey. So I brought this just to fend them off.
Yeah, so smart.
Fend anybody off. Yeah. 'Cause, I mean,
You're
this
doing
is
so good.
what he does, and he can't be like
Right.
trauma.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is good because he's.
That's really good.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
you're
not
so
reacting at
good.
all. That is
See,
perfect,
there are
Zeb.
nice puppies out there.
Good job,
There are
Zebby.
nice puppies. Not all of them are gonna bite you.
Good job, Zebs. Oh, good job, Zebby.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
interacting.
Are you coming back? Okay. Enjoy. Thank you.
Good job, Zebby. And Macho, too. That was wonderful.
You've taken the first step to embracing life again. Let's continue to break barriers, find joy, and dream without limits. Join us next time and let's discover inspiration through every transition together.